Brandon, come on up.
Hey, thank you.
So Brandon has this really cool story. One, he's recently married.
Yeah.
Yes. And Brandon has this really cool story that kind of, if you were going to get married, ladies, if you were going to get married, and your fiance says, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to just travel around and live out of our car and live out of motels and stuff, and we're just going to kind of do this in the midst of planning our wedding." How many of you guys would be like, "I got a question about this. Let's think," right? That's what you did, right?
Yeah.
So tell us how that happened.
Yeah. Well, first up, I'm from Iowa. Does anybody know where that's at? Second, I think what you said earlier, I was laughing because I'm pretty sure I'm the one that also came up to you and said, "What do you do?" And I think you corrected me. And I was like, I get it. Okay. But anyways, yeah, so thank you, by the way, for having me. I talk about relationships. I think that's so powerful. All of you here, it's amazing to come speak with people and just get to know them. Because people, just learning who they are as people. I talk about this a lot. Your story is powerful, who you are, your background, and just building that rapport, because nothing's worse than like, "Hey, here's a business card," or like, "Hey, what do you do?" and just talking business. Because at the end of the day, we buy from who we like, trust, and know. We want to be around people. It's actually proven we want to be around people that we like and build a rapport with somebody, a relationship. So back to what you asked me, a little background, how I even got into this space, because that camera over there, I was talking to him before, and I geek out about it. I can't run the camera, but I know people that can run the camera. I bring it together, and I'm in front of the camera. But I started in Northeast Iowa. I grew up in a town of 700 people. I don't know, have you guys ever heard of Garnavillo, Iowa? Yeah, nobody has. There's not even a grocery store there. I grew up in an ice business, another random thing. You ever been in an ice business? No? So I grew up selling ice. Thank you to my dad, who he literally taught me everything I knew in business. I learned about customer service, everything else. So I got in that business. I went to college, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe take over the business, do that. But I got a 1.68 GPA my freshman year. That didn't go well. Too much of that wine and other things, and Busch Light. I don't know if you know what that is here. Anyways, my journey was a little kind of all over the place. But then I read the book Think and Go Rich. My mentor directed me to it, and I realized that it didn't matter that I was from a small town. It didn't matter that I had a 1.68 GPA. What mattered is I saw what Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, and Thomas Edison, all these people achieved. They really decided what they wanted in life, just like you did, Bob. You said, "Here's what I want to do. Here's what I focus on," and they did it. So after that book, my life changed quickly to where it led to me where I am now. I had this idea for an invention called Arctic Stick. I invented it. I took it to market. I spent $100,000 on it. I didn't get my $100,000 back. I lost it. But it led me to crowdfunding. So I got into this space where Kickstarter and Indiegogo help people raise money. I was doing that, and I really learned the power of relationships. So where I got my career made was I helped a guy raise a lot of money for a book. Have you guys ever read The Freedom Journal? So John Lee Dumas, I did a lot of podcasting, best way, kind of like what we're doing here, but there was a mic. And so I had him on my show. At the end of every show, I always say, "How can I help you? And here's what I do." And that's a powerful thing. How can I help you? Just like you did earlier, James. And so he said, "I'm looking to do a campaign for my book. Hey, I'm a crowdfunding expert." Long story short, I was just starting out. This in 2015. I took on the campaign. I didn't charge him anything. He was an influencer, and he had a lot of listeners on his show. 6 months later, we launched a campaign together, and we did $500,000 in a month for a book, and then all of a sudden people wanted to work with me. And so that started my career. I went on to put on a lot of events and build relationships. So how I got into even going traveling the country, there was this turn in my life. I was always a guy that wanted to accomplish things. And as a kid, I really saw where this kind of came from. I was always trying to prove my worth. As a kid, I had a speech impediment, so I had a lisp, and I couldn't communicate. I got bullied, and people made fun of me, and I'm sure we've all got bullied at one time. But I hated it. And I wanted to become a great salesman one day, and I wanted to do big things. I didn't want my speaking to make a negative impact on that. So and this is in the book that he wrote, every night I would speak in front of the mirror at 9 years old, and I would say, I'm a success. I am a great salesman. I will be a success. And over time, that built up in my subconscious, and I lost my speech impediment, and then I started speaking again. But where it showed in my life was I always was trying to prove myself, to prove my worth and prove. So I'll move this for the camera because I know they cover it. There's my producing side. But I always wanted to prove myself to others. And in everything I did, I always wanted to achieve. And maybe some of you can relate with this. And I'm still working on it. But I'm always trying to say I'm worthy, or I'm always trying to get the next win, because then, hey, look what I did. And I was doing it to show others, like my parents, my family, my loved ones. But I just kept going. But we're in a beach one day. My wife, we were dating at the time. We weren't engaged yet. We're sitting on a beach, and I said, Samantha, that's her name. So here's Samantha. You're good looking, but not as good looking as her. And I'm like, what are we going to do next? You know, we've had these wins, we had different things, but what are we going to do? Life's so short. And we brainstorm. Everything's a mastermind with us. We're always masterminding. The first book I gave her, first gift I gave her was Think and Grow Rich. She's like, what is this? I'm like, read it. It's obligation. And it's funny because James married us. He's the closest thing I could find in Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill dead. But so I saw this article by Mark Cuban that said live in 5 cities before you're 25. And I thought, you know what? I always said, why don't I travel the country and live in different cities? And I said, why don't we live in 12 cities in 12 months, Sam? And she's like, wow, that's crazy. And I'm like, why don't we do it? And I'm like, how about we film a TV show on it too? And she first was on board, but she never wanted to be in front of the camera. To this day, she doesn't want attention. She hates it when we go to events. She wants to be behind the scenes. I somehow convinced her. That's how good I was in sales. Like, I convinced her to be my co-host. So that was in June 9th of 2017, because that was her birthday. We're celebrating her birthday in Puerto Rico. And fast forward 7 months, we went on the journey. And little did I know we were going to go all in on this thing. And the whole concept was to travel the country and figure out what success was. And one thing I'd love for you all to take away is thinking about what success means to you. A lot of people, what they think it is, it's making a lot of money, which money is great. I love money. But making a lot of money, having the car, the power, the fame, all these different things. But after interviewing hundreds of entrepreneurs, seeing homeless to billionaires, celebrities, you name it, whatever you would call success, I've learned so much. And the whole purpose of the show is to figure out what it really meant before we got married. So like we're on this journey figuring out what success means before we tie in the knot marriage. That's like the show theme. And now where we're at with it is we're releasing October 10th is the premiere of our show. We're releasing a book together, and we're still pitching it. We're for sure be on Amazon. We have a rep that's pitching, which we actually met at church together, where we met them. But you know, I learned a lot from the process. I learned so much, and I just love stories. You know, we sit around dinner tables. You think about whatever religion you believe in. What do we do for thousands of years? We sat around tables. We talked about stories. We talked about what we believed in. And then you look at Napoleon Hill came around, and he wrote stories in books that inspired people. We look at Martin Luther King. He was a great speaker. He told stories. He had a dream. Gandhi, he told stories. And when coming together like this, I enjoy this. We get to become friends. I mean, what do we want at the end of the day? We want to have relationships, impactful in relationships, and we want to enjoy life. And why I love video so much is because it's the most powerful way to tell a story today. The book tells a story, podcasts tell a story, speaking does, but video is the best damn way because you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel the motion. And once I realized that, I went all in. In the last 5 years, I've spent over $500,000 in video content. I've been a part of producing 3 TV shows, hosted them. The movie Think and Grow Rich Legacy, which the book impacted me when I was 21, and the fact that I'm one of the guys that helped create it and the youngest guy in the movie, like it's in 3 languages, impacted millions of people. I'm not saying this brag, I'm saying to tell you this video stuff is powerful. Storytelling is powerful. And what I want to do, and I'm going to do, is using the power of video and storytelling to impact so many people on earth, to go after what they want, to have a better life. And that's why we all went on the show. That's why we sold everything. One story I'll tell you quick, and then you can, any questions you want to ask, but the episode I'm most excited about on the show is on my wife. So my wife she's going to be a way bigger star than I could ever be, and she's way better looking. But at 14 years old, my wife got addicted to meth and lived in a small town in Winona, Minnesota. And she was a gymnast. She always wanted to be a gymnast, become this great gymnast one day. And at 14 years old, she's in with her friend, and her friend's older brother said, hey, you want to try this? She wanted to fit in. So at 14 years old, addicted to meth. And it's a drug that literally will take you away forever. You're done. After a year, somehow she had a scare and she got out. But then she rolled into an 8-year abusive domestic violence relationship. So she's in this piece of this horrible relationship that she couldn't be who she was. She had to take care of this fucking asshole that treated her like a piece of crap. And anyways, one day she said, this is enough. She packed her bags, she got in her car, she drove away, and she never looked back, and she has yet to see that person today. So for you women out there, you're beautiful, you have so much to give. If you have an asshole relationship, a guy that's not treating you, get out. You don't need to deal with that, because I could probably find a better looking guy that has a lot more money that can provide so many amazing things for you. But what I learned from her story and about her, she inspires me. But it was very difficult for her to share that on camera. She shared it on one of the episodes of our show. The whole world's going to see it. It was difficult. And she even called the wedding off that week, 2 months before our wedding. And she'll straight up say this in our book. But it was a difficult thing to do. And sometimes the things we don't want to talk about, we all have something. I know you all have something right now and might be thinking about it. The most difficult stories are the ones we need to share. Because when we share them, we impact people. Because you feel like you're alone, but honestly, there's so many more people out there that are just like you. So it was difficult for her to share, but now that she shared, she's a totally different person. It was therapy for her, and now she uses her past to fuel her future. She uses her story to inspire others. So as storytelling, the power, that's why I do what I do. That's why I produce stuff. That's why I create video content, is to tell stories, impact people's lives. And that's why I think all of you, I encourage you, I challenge you to get in front of a camera and share your story. You can share it first in front of a circle and in a book, but when you do it on camera, there's something about it. It's powerful. And also, it's the best way to get the word out. It's the best way to share with others. And also, if you want to look at the business side of things, people buy from people they like and trust and know. So if you do build that rapport through your story, they're going to work with you versus somebody else. Like the lawyer thing, if they share their story, they want to work with somebody they trust. Right. So tell your story and do it through video.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're saying shoot more video. Brandon, you make this decision, you go all in, you travel, and you win 2 Emmy Awards.
Yeah.
What? Tell us about that. I mean, who here has ever won an Emmy Award? I've never won.
This
So
year?
this year. I know. No, not last year. How did you?
Yeah. So there's an Emmy is. By the way, I got a nomination for that show, Ambitious Adventures, in 2016, and once I found out, I was excited. I called my dad up and I said, "Dad, I just got an Emmy nomination." He's like, "What's an Emmy?" And I'm like, "Thanks, Dad." And then I told my brother. You know what he did? He said, "I don't believe you." So he had to go online and search and see that I actually had it, and then he told everybody about it. But no, it's a rating. People judge. You have to submit, and it's based on categories, and it's obviously it's got to be good content. It's got to be voted. There's this whole organization at the end, and so we had submitted for the mini documentary we did on Shea Hillenbrand's story, which we knew was very powerful, and we had submitted in the promotional for the trailer of our show, and the year before, Ambitious Ventures. So in December of 2017, I remember sitting at the awards, and we had the Hollywood episode of Ambitious Ventures submitted, and they go up and they call the category. And my heart's racing, and I'm like, oh my God, we put our whole life and soul in this. Like, I wanted this award so bad. And they didn't call our name. And talk about a letdown. You know, sometimes in life, you put your heart and soul into something, and you give it all you got. You deserve to win, but sometimes you just don't. And I remember that day, fire inside me saying, I'm going to ensure that next year I'm going to win an Emmy. And so 12 months later, we won a couple Emmys. And it's because we went all in. And how do you win? I mean, you got to have a great story. There's some luck involved because there is, I mean, somebody's got to decide, are you a winner or not? And that person might not have the right preference. They might not have the same kind of like that somebody else would. So there is some things in there that there is a little bit of luck, but there is a lot of work to it. So we submitted these, we won some awards. You know, it's not just about the trophy. I mean, yeah, it's cool, but Emmy or anything in your life, you all have your own Emmys to win, your own fields that you're in to win this accomplishment that shows you're the best in the field. And for me, it was about all the work put up to that point. And my wife, she's like, whatever. Like, it's an Emmy, and it's funny, like, because I want people, oh my God, you won an Emmy. But she doesn't even like telling them. And it is a powerful thing. But did it make me like a way better person? No. Like, the trophy sits on my desk. It's cool, and it is powerful for your brand, but it's not like my life has changed in a whole big way. And, you know, you look at all these people that they strive for the Emmy, they strive for this big award. It's not necessarily going to change their life forever. It is a huge accomplishment to be proud of, but I'm thankful. I'm not going to discredit it at all, but I'm thankful and I'm very lucky. And the only reason I had the opportunity, and it talks back to relationships and get in. This is why these events are so powerful. You know, I've been to hundreds of events. I've put on hundreds of events. These like this are more powerful than an event where you can have 400 or 500 people. And I've put those on. And my first event I did in Iowa is one of the largest events. I since sold my shares, called Young Entrepreneur Convention. We bring in hundreds of entrepreneurs. And what I did is every speaker that I brought in, we treated them, I paid a lot of fees. I would fly them in. I would get them from the hotel. We even made like custom cookies for them. Like, we wrote notes. But what we were doing is we were building relationships up. And one of the guys that came to my event, sponsored it last minute, was Greg Roulette. Well, that guy at the event said, Brandon, why don't you come down to Florida and film a masterclass to me? In my mind, laziness kicked in. Like, he's not paying my way. He's not, what if I don't get the sales? All the bullshit I was telling myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to go. I went, and I don't think we sold a couple courses. But at the end of the day, he said, Brandon, I have this idea for a TV show called Ambitious Adventures. How would you like to help me crowdfund it and be my co-host? I said yes. And then we went on to create a TV show together. Because of that, I got to learn from him. I got to learn from my directors. He got 13 Emmys. I got to learn from Nick Nen and some of the best people in the industry because I showed up and I wanted to learn. I saw an opportunity. I took it. So the whole moral of it is show up in life. Come to events like this. This event is an amazing opportunity for all of you to connect. Show up at I mean, I flew here. You said, hey, and I'll tell you what, I've only known him for 2 months. I just got done with a keynote. I get paid $20,000 to go speak. I was just in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was speaking there, and I literally was in Milwaukee Monday. I keynoted at 4 p.m. or whatever it was, 1 p.m. I drove to Minneapolis. 3 hours later, I got on a plane, came here, and I'm here because of him. And you know why? Yeah, probably because he just wanted to build a relationship, but there was something about him. Sometimes you just meet people, and it's like, I like that person. And that's why I'm here, and I'm so glad I came to be able to speak to you. But it's relationships. At the end of the day, yes, it will lead to big sales. It'll lead to more clients, more opportunity. But ultimately, it leads to happiness. And my friends, my relationships, like people at the table there, and James Whitaker who married me, that's what I love. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, and I remember when we met, I was like, okay, I like this guy.
Yeah.
We need to connect, and then we show up at church, and I'm like, there he
Law of
is.
attraction,
Okay,
yeah.
we should hang out.
Tim Story's church. You never know who you're going to meet there.
That was perfect. That was perfect. So, you know, one of the, if you took all the stories, right?
Yeah.
All the people you've connected with, all the people you've sat down, broke bread with, and heard their story, and you can only tell one on Oprah or whatever.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
only tell one of them. Which would be the one you would lead with?
Can I tell 2 quick ones?
Okay.
2 people. There's a reason for it.
Okay, so we'll go Oprah and Ellen.
Okay, Oprah and Ellen. So they're the executive producer of our show, and they're the people that ultimately I had speak at my first event in 2016. And one of them is Jeff Hoffman. You guys know Jeff? So he co-founded Priceline.com. He's an amazing person. I remember
How many of you guys know Jeff Hoffman? You guys ever met him? you get a chance to listen to him speak or be around him, take it.
He's a good human. And so he's committed to being an executive producer of a show, mentoring us. We met in Columbus, Ohio. We met multiple times. Not Columbus, it was Ohio, I'll think of it. Somewhere in Ohio. And my wife and I sat down and we met and we had breakfast for a couple hours, and he gave us feedback about the show and guidance, and he's, co-founder of Priceline.com, self-made billionaire. He's done a lot of great things. And my wife went to the bathroom, and he said, Brandon, you know what? That right there, that is success. This is coming from a billionaire. He said, your relationship with your wife, the fact you're traveling the country together, that's really what life is all about. No money in the world can ever buy that. And I'll never forget that. And it's unique coming from that kind of person. And one thing he once said to me is, like, Brandon, there's not a day I go by without somebody asking me for money. That was sad. And he's like, I don't know if somebody likes me for me or for my money. And he said, I have all these other friends that want to buy a bigger boat. They have multi-billions of dollars, and their kids don't talk to them. They're miserable. And again, I'm not discrediting money because it's great. I love money. But I'm just saying that some people, they're not happy with that. So what I learned from Jeff Hoffman is really figure out what you enjoy and be around good people, because he's on our wall, like he's like family does, because we value each other's relationship. And so that's one story, just learning from him. The other one, and this is a little bit duration, so the power of relationships and connecting and showing up. The best opportunity and allowed me to make a lot of money, a lot of relationships. A guy named Kevin Harrington. So Kevin Harrington, originally I got introduced to him as my mentor, Cactus Jack Behringer, years ago. I'd throw down 10 grand to invest in him as a mentor. But he had partnered with Kevin Harrington in Shark Tank when he did Shark Tank. And he also, I know Kevin Harrington invented the infomercial. I've seen it on TV. So I studied him a lot, and I always study people that I want to build a relationship with. I learn everything about them. Their brother, their sister, their kids, you know what I mean. I want to know everything about them. Their dog, and maybe not their dog, but so I had the first ever doing an event called Young Entrepreneur Convention, and I wanted him there. I knew he would cost a lot of money to get. And so I talked with his person. I first sent a personal video to his email, and he didn't get it. His assistant did. His assistant reached out. He said, oh, here's what it costs to get him. After 5 months of negotiating, I finally made a deal at that time to get him to come. At that time, I didn't have the money. I was willing to sell my truck in order to get him to come to the event. That's how committed I was. I've always been all committed. And so before the event happened, one day, my other friend, Forbes Riley, had told me, like, Brandon, which we met at Unleashing the Power Within at a Tony Robbins event, and he said, or she said, I have a chance for you to meet with Kevin and get in a 20-minute car ride. And I found out about that 24 hours before I did it. And so I got on a plane. I flew to St. Pete, Florida. I got in a 20-minute car ride with him. He saw what I had done with the John Lee Dumas guy, raised $500,000 in a month for a book. He was picking my brain. I had Shark picking my brain. By the end of the weekend, we had made a partnership deal together, and he hired my company to go raise money for him. And so that was the first start of the relationship. And then he came to my event, and then we built a relationship. And we kept building this relationship. But I was always adding value, not expecting anything. Huge. And then we had done some, we launched a book, Put a Shark in Your Tank Together, and that book led to a mastermind. In that mastermind that we put together, I remember a guy by Daniel Patton came. He had this idea called, it was called at that time Carbon Cleaner. It's called Peeps now, Eyeglass Cleaner. And that mastermind, that event, ultimately led to that product that's done over $100 million now. That was one of the biggest products he had done, and we were a big part of bringing that thing together. And so that was a relationship. And then I always found ways, I'm always looking for my core circle. How can I make them money? How can I help them? How can I add value to their lives? Just like the principle, adding value and always doing good for others. And so we built this rapport over time. And for me, now what it's led is part of our show. He's also helped me make a lot of money. He's, the other day, I spoke. I had James and I had Kevin Harrington. Within 24 hours, I'm like, Kevin, I'm speaking to this group. Can you create a 2-minute video for me quick, custom, and say their name and everything? Within 20, he was, I think, at the beach at the time, and then he came back and he created a video, and like he sent it to me. Now, most people don't get that kind of stuff. But the only reason I got that and why I'm sharing that story is because I showed up and I added value. If you really want to connect with anyone, if you want to build real relationships, how can you help them? How can you be a person service? And don't say, hey, how can I help you? And then you don't follow through. Because if you do say, I'm very careful, because when I say I want to help you, I'm going to help you. But actually be a man or woman of your word, because your word's everything. And when you add massive value to others, when you show up and you make them get closer to their goals, what happens is you'll get what you want too.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, for those of you that don't know, Next Level by Association, like I said, we're going in our 10th year. We have never paid for a guest of honor to be here. Les Brown, Keith Ferrazzi, Brandon, we've never paid for anyone to be here. The closest thing we came to was several years ago, Frank Shankwitz. How many of you guys know Frank Shankwitz?
Yeah.
Very dear friend, and he said, Bob, I would love to come, but I'm, it's charity-wise. And he goes, I just need my airfare covered. And so we flew him over from Prescott, hold $250 or whatever. So, but the cool thing is when you have that kind of relationship currency with people, they don't ask, they don't make demands on you. They're willing to give and take. They're willing to play that game. And I remember when I first saw you, you were walking in the convention center with Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And so I didn't know who you were at the time. Then I see you go up on stage, and I'm like, I like this guy. I gotta get to know him. But so take what he's saying. The biggest thing I can say is we hear so much, and we do so little with what we hear. Take what he's saying and then apply that. So I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A because what time are we at? Okay, good. So we have about 15 minutes, 10 minutes to ask for Q&A. Yeah, Bill.
So
you're in Iowa.
So I'm from Iowa. I live in Minneapolis now, but within 3 months I better be in Nashville, Tennessee. That was my favorite city. But then my wife just said to me like 2 days ago, she's like, why don't we just travel the country in a camper? So we'll see.
Nice.
So you read Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
In Iowa.
I was at
you were
Ames, Iowa at the time.
You were in town with like 3 people.
Yeah.
So we're in Southern California. So we have personal development hubs. There's LA Group, Orange County. So like, who did you have to share thought? What kind of like-minded people are in Iowa?
I mean, my dad's always been a mentor. He taught me business at a young age, but he never like thought like kind of like this way. You think or these groups. He never read Think and Grow Rich. At Iowa State, probably the best thing that came from it was the guest speaker, which was Cactus Jack Behringer. He said, read the book. I read the book, and then I realized I'm surrounding myself with the wrong people. I was drinking every week and doing drugs. I was just like not doing anything really productive. And so I realized I needed to find mentors. So I found mentors, and then I realized I need to surround myself with the right people. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Well, do you want to become a millionaire? Surround yourself with millionaires. Do you want to be a billionaire? Surround yourself with billionaires. Like, surround yourself with who you want to become. And that was my lesson. I mean, the biggest disadvantage I had was, for one, I'm going to reword that. I was going to say I was thinking the wrong way. For part of my career, I was chasing the women. I was doing the drugs, the alcohol, that stuff. And that wasn't really giving me productivity, But when I started being around people that had big goals, then I realized, okay, this can help me get further. So it's who I surrounded myself with. And the book is who I have to thank for that, the mastermind principle. Mastermind and who you're with and who you get advice from.
Where did you find them in Iowa?
It's funny because now I have a lot of people I know in Iowa, but at the Cactus Jack lives in Ames, Iowa, and he was originally the first person I connected with. And then from there, I mean, I just started traveling. I mean, I've been in, last year alone, I was in over 40 states. I've been in so many, I come to California all the time. People are like, why don't you live here? I hate the traffic. But yeah, I don't know, I went to where the places was. People could say, well, hey, there's no connection here. Well, get the hell out of the city and go to another city. Like, I'm from a town of 700. I sold my house there. Like, go somewhere different. Go where the action is. Show up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I used to call. You go.
Something that you mentioned when you were talking earlier was you've always been an all-in kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right? And what's the internal voice or message that you have for yourself? Because so many people are afraid to be all-in because of all the unknowns, regardless of what you read in a book or all these different things. So what is it about you? Because everybody's unique in how they talk to themselves. So what was it about you? Did it evolve? Was it really always like that?
No, it's two things. So tomorrow's actually my 6-year anniversary of almost going to the hospital and dying, I believe. I was working 100 hours a week. At that time, I was 22 years old. I was managing 8 facilities and 50 employees, and all of them were way older than me. And I was running an ice company in multiple areas, a big territory. And I was working 110-hour weeks. I wasn't sleeping, like 3 hours a night. Worked myself in the grave. Literally, one day I was driving a truck down the road. I felt wheezy. I pulled over, and my body shut down. And 20 minutes later, the ambulance came. And I survived to tell the story, but I learned that was a low moment in me. And I realized that night when I was sitting by myself that I had nobody to talk to. I had no relationships. I was trying to work myself into the grave, really, try to become the richest man. That was a learning moment. Then 2 months later, a good friend died September 27th, 2013, got killed in a car accident. And then after I realized that too, it's like life is short. So then every talk and show I do is life is too short. So create something great and become unforgettable because life is too short not to. It comes from that. And I realized life is short. You know, so many of us, we have that thing that we waiting to do. Like, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow. The tomorrow becomes never. Why did we travel the country? Because if we didn't do it when we had that idea then, we would have never done it. So I realized, why not go places? Why not show up? Why not just do cool things? Jeff Hoffman, what I love about Jeff Hoffman is he told himself one day is, I'm not going to say no, I'm going to say yes to everything. So he travels the world. He meets with princes and presidents and all these people because he doesn't say no. And that experience of knowing life is too short and that thought I was going to die experience made me realize that, you know what? You can lose all the money. I've seen close to bankruptcy. I've seen thousands in the hole. I've seen the lows of lows. I've seen the highs of highs. And I realized once you hit a certain low moment, you realize if it doesn't kill you, then fuck it. It'll make you stronger. So I love doing what I love, and why not take risk? You know, people, honestly, the fear you build in your head is bigger than what it actually is. It's like before you jump into water. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to jump in out. You jump in, it's like, it's not that bad. We build up this fear and limitation inside our mind. So you have enough failures, you have enough low moments, you realize it's not that bad. And I think you all should challenge yourself to do something out of your comfort zone. Because if you're not going out of your comfort zone, you're probably dying inside. So I'm always challenging myself to do something out of my comfort zone. One little thing, quickly, I flew to California 8 months ago. I got tired because we weren't getting the leads we wanted with connections for our TV show. I wanted to deal with Netflix. All the people that wanted to work on our show, they wanted to do a show more about my wife and I and not about what our mission was. I wasn't going to sell my soul to the devil. So you know what I did? I flew to Netflix. I showed up. I sent them personal packages. I sent them personal emails. And I went there and I said, hey, I'm here to see this person. I'm not going to say their name, but I studied all these people. I'm here to see this person. They said, well, we can't do that. I said, I flew across the country for this meeting. I just want to talk to somebody. They said no. Long story short, they escorted me out. That got on social media. Tens of thousands of people saw it, and it led to 2 big representation deals. And I had a lot of hate from that, but I also had people that loved me. And if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. That scared me. I was nervous. I thought my career was ruined, but it wasn't. So I've learned when you do things that scare you, good things happen.
So just to segue into that, if you didn't have those experiences in your life, you weren't running yourself ragged, if you didn't almost die,
Yeah.
what do you think you would have done?
You know, that's why I think that our low moments actually make us who we are. I think our past, I like what would, where would we be if we didn't have the struggles? I'm thankful for them. So push yourself to those opportunities. Break down is breakthrough. Thank you for asking that, yes.
One more question. Yes, Bobby Joe.
So after you sold your house and sold everything and went on the road, was there ever any given time that either you or your wife just felt like you didn't want to do it, you wanted to give up, or we really going to do this? And if there was a moment, what happened that made you keep going?
Yeah, so I'll share the moment. I wasn't gonna share this, but I'll share it. So I never regretted anything. I always believed in it. But the hard thing, so my wife, I'm crazy. Like, I'm wired differently. Like, you could put me and sleep on the street for a couple weeks. I don't give a shit. Like, I'll figure it out. We were self-funding most of the show. So we have close to $250,000 in the show. And a lot of the money, half the money was just my own money. And so when we got after our first city, we underestimated what the cost would be of the show. We put a lot of money and also we had just got to the point where we had to actually buy out a partner. And we just got done with the event that we were like 50 grand in the hole because there was fires going on and we didn't have, it was in LA. Like we had so many things happen wrong at once. When it rains, it pours. We got to Austin, Texas. We ran out of money, and we ran out of like all our money. So we were like, I had nothing. And so we're in this hotel. My wife's depressed and crying, and like, we were like looking for an answer. I remember going to church. Like I never went to church, and she wanted to fly home. She's ready to pack her bags and go without me, and it was very difficult. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I literally had no money. We're eating ramen noodles and hot dogs, and this was 18 months ago. And what happened was, like literally, it was like 2 weeks after that moment. I kept pushing forward, and I found out some of our darkest times, our greatest successes happened beyond our darkest times. I had a company that's a part of that had went public. I had got a lot of stock. So basically, within 2 weeks, I had made more money in that deal than I had made in the previous year. And so I had made, to talk about the entrepreneurship life. So things were good again, right? So I learned in that moment that you just have to keep going. And it was tough because I felt like I was letting my soon-to-be wife down. But now she writes about it in the book we have coming out. She said that she feels bad that she was selfish of treating me like shit. She wasn't talking to me, and like we weren't talking, but we're in the same room together. And but it brought us together. So obstacles like that, honestly, I'm thankful for it because it's bonded us together like this. And it's also made us very strong people. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what happened, and that was one of our lower moments. So,
Brandon, thank you for being
thank
here.
you.
And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So guys, you're going to stay connected.